So we all know Dante's Divine Comedy, right? The incredible journey through hell, purgatory, and finally paradise, where he gets this ultimate vision of God. But then what? What happens the next day? I mean, how do you just go back to your life after you've seen the face of love itself? Well, we're about to dive into something really cool. A fictional, lost chapter of Dante's masterpiece that tackles that exact question.
And this quote right here, it gets right to the heart of this lost text, which is called Il Ritorno, the return. The whole idea is that the real challenge, the harder journey, wasn't the trip to God. No, it's the journey back, the incredibly painful and world-changing journey back to Earth.
Okay, so the manuscript kicks off with a real shock to the system. After his soul literally expanded to hold the infinite, bam, he just crashes right back into his mortal body. And let me tell you, the experience is described as pure, absolute agony.
And this comparison really spells it out, doesn't it? In heaven, his soul was infinite, but back on earth, his own body feels like a prison newly made. Think about that. After living in timeless, pure fire, suddenly he's trapped in what feels like a country of the dead. Time itself becomes a kind of torture. It's just this incredible spiritual whiplash.
So this becomes the central problem, the big question he has to face. His whole Commedia was a roadmap for getting to God, but it had zero instructions for the return trip. I mean, seriously, how do you go back to just eating bread, drinking wine, living your life, when you're carrying the memory of the entire universe inside your head?
Naturally, what's the first thing a poet does? He tries to write about it, right? He wants to capture everything he saw. But this attempt, well, it backfires, leading him into a massive crisis. The very art that defined his entire life suddenly fails him.
So you can just picture it. He sits down, tries to write, but the very words that built his incredible epic, they now feel completely hollow. They feel like lies. I mean, how can you use finite language to describe the infinite? It's impossible. And in total despair, he just throws his pages down, convinced he's failed. But it's right there, in that moment of complete surrender, that his guide, Beatrice, appears in a dream with a whole new plan.
And this is the big turning point. Beatrice totally reframes his entire mission. She tells him, you're not supposed to capture the light. You can't trap it in the prison of your words. That's impossible. Instead, his job is to build a window. A poem that doesn't contain the light, but lets others peek through and see a little flicker of it for themselves. It's beautiful, right? His greatest failure actually becomes his true, deeper purpose.
So, armed with this brand new mission, Dante's whole way of seeing the world just shifts. It's a radical transformation. He stops trying to look past the world to find God, and instead he starts looking at it, like really looking at it, for the very first time.
And what he finds is just incredible. The most ordinary, everyday things are suddenly glowing with the divine. You know the dust motes you see dancing in a sunbeam? To him, that's not just dust anymore. It's the entire dance of the cosmos in miniature. It contains all of paradise.
And this new way of seeing, it's not just the dust, it's everywhere. Nature itself becomes this holy book that he can read. A spider spinning its web isn't just a bug doing its thing. Its movements are like scripture, a little revelation of divine order and pure creativity. It's not just the natural world either, the man-made world. Even his city of exile, Ravenna, starts to speak to him in this new language. The streets aren't just streets anymore. He starts to see the grammar of architecture. You know, where the buildings are like sentences and the city's laws are the syntax? He's literally reading a story told in stone and mortar. It's amazing.
So now, with these new eyes, Dante is forced to look back and re-evaluate everything. And that includes the really painful stuff, his bitter exile from his home, Florence, and even his own terrifying vision of hell.
And look at this transformation. It's just profound. His exile, which was this bitter, open wound for so long, he now sees as an instrument of grace. It was the very thing that forced him on his journey in the first place. And even bigger, his idea of hell completely shifts. It's no longer about God's punishment. It's about a tragedy that people choose for themselves.
This leads to a really radical new idea about hell. In this version, the damned aren't sent there by God. No, they are artists of damnation. They build their own prisons, brick, by refusing a love that is still all around them, still available. So the ultimate tragedy of hell isn't the fire and brimstone. It's being surrounded by an infinite love that you simply refuse to see.
And all of this leads to the ultimate discovery of his return journey. The paradise he crossed the entire universe to find, it wasn't somewhere else. It was right here,
the whole time just hidden in plain sight. This quote really sums up the core mystical idea of the whole thing. The journey leaves the journey behind when it discovers there was nowhere to go. The point was never to escape the world. The goal was to learn how to see the world correctly. The entire epic pilgrimage wasn't about getting from point A to point B. It was training for his eyes.
So where is this paradise then? Where does he find it? Not in some far-off heaven. He finds it in the grain of a wooden table, in a woman just drawing water from a well, in the sound of children laughing in the street, in the simple taste of bread and wine. He realizes his entire massive celestial vision. It's all right here, woven into the fabric of the most ordinary life.
And that brings us to the end, the final word. As Dante is writing down these last incredible revelations, the act of finishing his poem and the act of finishing his life become the exact same thing.
There's this deep, profound sense of peace here at the end. He's not afraid of dying. He accepts it as the natural conclusion. The hand that wrote returned to its sheath of stillness. He just lets go. Lets go of his legacy, of any need to control what happens next. The work is done. It is finished.
And this last thought from his notes is just the perfect summary of it all. The journey ends where it began. It was always a circle. The destination was the starting line all along. Why? Because the love he was searching for across the entire universe was also searching for him.
But the manuscript doesn't tie everything up in a neat little bow. It just stops, mid-phrase. It ends with, "And when the vision bends." Bends where? Bends into what? It's an unfinished thought. One last window left open for us, leaving us to wonder, what comes next? What's just beyond that final word?